What's up, you guys? Welcome to another show for Legacy Talks. I'm super, super excited because, here I love to bring in business leaders, other entrepreneurs, so we can have unfiltered conversations showing persons who are actually building their business, you guys, like they're building systems, the discipline that's needed, and in essence of showing the legacy that they're building through their business. And today's guest, I have a dear friend of mine, Felipe, and he's going to be sharing his whole story and all the amazing things that he's doing, because I don't wonder how he's doing so many different things and still find time. But I'm going to leave it up to Felipe to introduce himself. Felipe, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Felicia, for having me. It is such a pleasure and honor to be here. And you say amazing things. I'm like, I don't think I'm doing enough.
No.
So
And
that's funny
sometimes
to
when
hear.
you see someone doing so many different things, involving so many different ventures, and you're like, how do you find the time? That was my first impression of you when I met you through Black Card. And I was like, whoa, you are doing a lot. So I'm like, we got to peel back the layers of how you built it. How are you doing it? How do you keep sane and all that stuff? So, like, give us like a short overview of all the different things that you're involved in before we kind of pull it apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it and happy to be here. Yeah, you mentioned how do you keep sane? That is a good question. I am trying to figure that out still. That's a good point. But a little bit of what I do, I'm pretty much a serial entrepreneur.
Hmm.
We have different businesses. My strong suit really is not necessarily specialized in a certain skill or technical aspect of things, but more of a generalist, broad overview. I have certain things that I'm good at on a high altitude level. And then really from there, just try to outsource as much as I can in what I'm not good at and really use technology and other people's expertise and talents and motivation to not to my advantage, but more of a win-win on the team building type of atmosphere.
Got it. So
Yeah.
before you got into all these different ventures as well, before you even figured out what you were good at and what you need to outsource, like, give us a little background of how you got into the space. What were you doing before real estate, before running the fund and all
Yeah.
that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from very, very humble beginnings. I started from virtually nothing. So I'm an immigrant. I'm from Brazil originally. I got to this country in 2001. So roughly 20 something years ago. I was 14 years old. I'm 38 years old now.
I was
Uh,
about to say, just gave away his age.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I have no reservation. I'm like, one of my flaws is I'm too transparent. So whether you like it or not, it's probably going to be too much information at some point, but it is what it is.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. My birthday is actually coming up in a few days, so I'll be turning
Oh,
35.
well,
Yeah,
happy
so I'm
birthday. What's
excited.
up?
I'm almost hitting the big 4-0, but I have some big goals when I hit my 4-0, but that's coming up. But so yeah, I started with virtually nothing. I moved here from Brazil to Rowlett, Texas, which is outside Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. And I didn't even speak English, so I learned English in 6 months. Didn't have any capital. My family is a middle class family. We didn't grow up with network, fraternity, family bank that I could invest out of, all those little things that some people are privileged to it, in which good for them. So we really had to build everything from the ground up. I've always been very driven, very ambitious, and everybody used to always tell me, hey, if you want to be a millionaire, you got to get into real estate. So I kept hearing that over and over, in which now I have a different saying on how I say it, but I kept hearing that, through my story, I went through school. I'm not a very classroom driven person, so that was hard for me. I like to do things that I'm interested in and that I have a self interest in doing. So sitting in a classroom going over stuff that I didn't want to do was a challenge, but sometimes it's necessary depending on what you're trying to do. But eventually I got through school. I didn't want to go to university. Somehow I did really well in high school. I graduated top 5% of my class, but I didn't speak English. So I don't know how that happened. So I had actually opportunities to go. I couldn't afford, university. I had opportunities to go to college, but I was too distracted at the time, chasing the wrong things, and mindset wasn't there. But I eventually went to a Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar in
Uh,
2008. That got the wheels turning. And at the time, I was just waiting tables right out of high school. I think I was making like $1,000 a week right out of high school. And I was like, man, this is great. I'm rich. I don't even need to do anything else. You know
those
what I
tip
mean?
jobs, man.
I know, right? So I was doing that, and eventually I got tired of the lifestyle of the food industry, and I was looking for something new and something that I could really develop myself into it. So I attended a Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar, started planting the seed on real estate investing, Robert Kiyosaki talking all that stuff that he does, and which was great, very informative. And I started just digging into it, and I decided to dive deep into it. And I pretty much haven't looked back since. So I've been in the industry since 2008. And from being in the industry, I've tried a lot of things. A lot of things have worked, a lot of them have not worked. But I've tried lots of pieces until I was able to identify what I actually like doing, what I get fulfillment out of it, and what I see where my best investment and my return to effort is. And I try to focus on those things. Yeah. At some point, even before, after getting into real estate, I became also a firefighter paramedic. I did that for 11 and a half years. So I was a public servant there for a little while. It was kind of like my idea of giving back to this country that took me in. I wanted to do that for a little bit. I got a lot of fulfillment out of it, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I don't do it anymore because I enjoyed it, but I don't miss it that much. But it was a great time in my life that I learned a lot of lessons from it. That does translate into business, especially the hard work and the discipline and the consistency and the focus, that type of thing. So, but yeah, I don't know if that answers your question a little bit, but
No, it
that's kind
does.
of like how I got here.
Now I'm like, so you were doing when you were a firefighter and a paramedics, you were also invested.
Correct, correct. So I got started in investing in 2008.
Mhm.
It took me 1 year and a half to do my very first deal.
Yeah.
My very first deal, it was just a wholesale. I was trying to wholesale properties, but it took me a year and a half. I was doing all the things they were telling me to do, but it wasn't working. I even tried. It's funny, but I was young. I was under eight. I was under 21 at the time. I had a deal and I wanted to sell it. And I went into an investor happy hour and I couldn't get in because I was a minor. I was like, but I have a deal. I got to get in. But it took me a little while to get things going. I eventually got licensed as a real estate agent in 2009. But then after I closed my first deal, things really started falling into places. Not because it was just happening, but I made it sure it was happening. Having some grit, some persistency, knowing when to move forward, know when to back out, but really uh, not accepting no for an answer and really pushing and manufacturing your success type of thing. You
So
know
you
what I mean?
mentioned that you also do different strategies when it comes on to real estate because we have your
Hmm.
wholesaling, fix and flip, rentals, burr. You have so many different things that you can do. Were you trying those different strategies? What would you say were some of the best strategies that you've done and why? And also which strategies you will never do again because you've learned from it?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. And once that got started, it took me a little while to get going in real estate, right? Come around 2010 or 2011, I decided I wanted to become a firefighter, and that's when I went through fire academy, put myself in fire academy, and all that stuff. Got hired on into a civil service position, but then on a fire department on the schedule that we do here in Dallas Fort Worth, at least when I was on the service, we do a 24-hour on and 48 off. So during those 48 hours off, that's when I really built my real estate business, and a lot of red eye, a lot of tired days, but just pushing through it. And you can do it part time. I think a lot of people underestimate what they can accomplish in, let's say, 10 years, but they overestimate what they can do in 1 year. So it really is that consistency and that compound, just that 1% every day. It pays huge dividends, right? But I originally just wanted to wholesale, in which wholesale itself, it's absolutely a beautiful business model, right? You have very little risk on very little liability on ownership or taking title off a property
Yeah.
and all those ownership headaches that come with it. You don't get that with wholesale, right? You can just assign your rights to a contract, get a good payday, and virtually you didn't have to raise capital. You didn't have to take the risk on holding costs or getting stuck with an asset you can get rid of. So that was my whole idea. We started getting some good volume and some good traction on wholesaling, but it became a point in which I had great deals and the end buyers weren't moving fast enough or they were passing on the deals.
Yeah.
So I turned around and I said, okay, if they're not going to do the deal, I'm just going to do it myself then. And instead of assigning or getting them involved, we started closing on those ourselves. Now, it took me a good 3 years before I felt confident to raise capital and be responsible for somebody else's hard earned capital, that I really knew what I was doing. I didn't want it to be a trial run or experience with their
Yeah.
funds. It needed to be a turnkey deal that, man, this is a sure thing. Um, we're going to get this turned around. So it takes a little while to build that confidence and really know what you're doing.
I was
And
just
it really takes,
that too, because the
yeah,
confidence portion of it is so crucial for you to say, get to the point of, I'm not gonna wholesale these anymore. I'm gonna do them myself without even worrying about the funding and all the I don't have the expertise in this. So it definitely took confidence and courage to actually take
absolutely.
that step. So kudos to you for doing that too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've always been on the mindset, especially, and there's a lot of things that go into it on how you do a deal and how you raise capital and all that stuff. But all throughout the markets that we've been in, we've always been deal centric first, meaning we control the deal first. If it's a deal, I will find the funding. And knowing how to do that and how to navigate that and having your escapes or your clauses or extensions if you need to, that you kind of learn with experience. But I've always been in the mindset that there's more money out there than there are really strong deals. So if I get really good at deal flow and deal sourcing and knowing how to find the deals, make the deals happen, the funding will follow. And that's been true throughout our career. We've raised, over 45 million in private capital. Working with everything that we've done was all other people's money. We never had to invest anything out of our pockets since we've been investing, which is absolutely amazing.
That is, like, phenomenal though for $40 million that you've raised over the time. Like, kinda go back a little bit, the first time you raised private capital from an investor, what did that feel like? Like, how did you know that, okay, there's this thing called OPM. Did you know anything
Right.
about it? Like, what was that first raise like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two raises that really come to mind that really kind of move the needle for me. And I say move the needle because it clicked on my mindset, not necessarily of how much I made, but because of that unlock level type of thing that I realized it. But I think, knowing how to raise capital is a superpower because if you really know how to do it and put it in and allocate and deploy it to the right places, it can make you unstoppable. You can really do some great deals and help a lot of people and help your investors, help the assets you buy and the people you buy. So it's definitely a win-win. One of those instances that come to mind is my very first deal that I raised money for. It was a manufactured home that we bought it with land. I had it on a contract to wholesale. This was in Joshua, Texas. It's outside of DFW. It's a little bit of a rural area,
Yeah.
but we bought it. It's super cheap. I got it on a contract for 20,000, and I was going to wholesale it. And I actually had offers to sell it cash. I think it was something small, maybe a 5,000 assignment fee, something like that. I could wholesale it cash for 25,000, but I saw some opportunity in it, and I ended up pitching to a cold investor. I had no idea who he was. He was retired tech partner, uh, and I don't even know how I came across him. It must have been those online platforms. But we started talking. He was here local, and then I told him I was like, "Hey, I want you to take a look at this deal that I have. I'm gonna stop by. I'm gonna pick you up, and then I'm gonna take you to the property so I can show you what I'm planning on doing." I ended up raising 27,000 from him, which is 7,000 more than I needed,
Yeah.
minus closing costs and all that stuff. It was just a short term a property, and I explained to him, "This is worth at least 40,000."
Mhm.
He needed very little work. So anyway, we ended up committing. We did a short term 12 months hard money loan, hard money terms, high interest. We closed on it. I think I put only $2,000 inside. Like I did a water heater and I just cleaned it up. And then I found a buyer right away for, I want to say 55,000
Wow.
or owner finance. So we were going to do a seller finance. I was going to collect a down payment and then we were going to do a wraparound note on top of the hard money.
So you
So
had
we
knowledge about this strategy with seller finance going in.
Correct. Correct. Because I had been, once I get into something, I really like to learn and really like to obsess over it. It's almost like a delusional type of mentality. And I look at different assets. And I was doing consulting at the time as well, answering Q&A of people that are starting out, like trying to help people out or what I had learned up to that point. But yeah, I was very knowledgeable, but I hadn't done the actual strategy yet on that regard, right? So we ended up doing that. We did everything right. It was a wrap. We did all the disclosures right. We did all the Dodd-Frank compliant for an owner occupied finance package. We did that. And then after we closed it, I turned right around and I sold the note to a note investor. And I was able to cash out my underlying lien private lender.
So all of this, you are doing it for the very first time.
Very first time, yeah, very first time we raised capital to do an actual deal, and it
And
worked
so
out well.
the capital, the note investing, the seller financing, every that transaction was a first for all those strategies.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and everything lined up just right. Somehow we did everything right, so it worked out, and we've duplicated that model a lot, in which it's one of my favorite strategies to do. If you do it right, you can even line up the commercial finance that you need instead of bringing in private investors. Do a wraparound and sell the note on the back end, the buyer's down payment to float your commercial finance. So there's some really scalable strategies that you can do with just that one strategy. You can do it with land, lots, that type of thing. That's one instance that really unlocked, like, oh, I can do this. And then the other one was a fix and flip that we did. It was my first raise, like that I consider raise like this is a substantial amount. It was gonna be several hundred thousands of dollars, right? That first one was nice. We made money, everybody made money, but it was only
Mhm.
$27,000. This one I needed, I want to say at the time it was like 700,000 that I was gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I was gonna pitch to somebody that was very wealthy. He was a civil engineer, so his mind thinks very differently
Mhm.
than, let's say, me, right? So I knew that if I can convince this guy to invest, I can pitch anybody because this guy, he is hard. He is like, even to this day, he's probably one of my toughest private investors
Investor.
that I've ever came across. And I knew if I got him across the finish line, then okay, I can really pitch people. You know what I mean? And that was such a good exercise because it made me think so much on this is how he's thinking, and this is the things that he wants to see.
Felipe?
He's thinking about the risk.
Did I? Okay, I think I lost you.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but not, you're frozen, but it keeps going in and out.
Oh,
Or we
okay.
can cut it
Let's
out.
see.
Yeah, so
It might be the Wi-Fi.
it keeps going like super in and out when you're talking.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
It might be me stopping. I'll move more
No, no, no.
so I don't look
It's like
frozen.
the audio, so it will freeze, but it comes back. But then your audio keeps going in and out.
Okay, let's see.
If I,
I live in the country, so sometimes the satellite
it's not a,
Wi-Fi gives a little bit of that.
like, don't worry, we can always edit it, but I want to make sure what you're saying it flows.
It's captured.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead so you can pick it back from the portion
Okay.
civil engineer portion of it, if you can convince him, get him across the finish
Yeah.
and get anyone else.
Okay. Yeah. So I knew that if I could get him across the finish line, then I really had something that people would be attracted to it.
Yeah.
And it was a great process. It was a great exercise because I saw how he thought about investing and about risk and about certain liability that he might have on his end. So he really taught me how to think.
Yeah.
And it was a great exercise because up to this day, he's probably been one of my most analytical and very high IQ, very intelligent. I even when I was talking with him, he even said, I asked him how much would you be looking to invest, and he said maybe a million. And I'm like, oh, I started coughing. I'm like, that's too much. We don't need that much. But it was a good sign. He was actually at some point in his career, he was the regional CEO of D.R. Horton Homes.
Mm.
So this is somebody very educated, has been in the industry, and he actually flew in um, to spend some time with me. And he actually stayed in my house. And I took him around projects. I showed him exactly what I was doing, and he invested. And we did very well. We did several deals together after that one. He kept investing with us again. And that was one of those moments that it was such a victory that I needed. And it was very validating the proof of concept
Yeah.
and the fix and flip, because that's really what we excelled at when the market is right and the strategy was correct at the time. And we really excelled on that. So we did a lot of fix and flip. That was almost our bread and butter for some time until the market kind of started doing what's doing now. But to answer one of your questions, and one of my favorites, and we've done Airbnbs, we've done short term rentals, we've built a rental portfolio. Out of all the strategies, what I like the most is what I call being a lean lord.
Mm.
Lean as lean, not, but seller finance, holding the note, and private lending. It's all about having control without the ownership. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of those ownership headaches that come with it, you don't get them when you are on the other side, when you are the lender or when you hold the note.
Yeah.
So that by far is one of my favorite strategies. And also, it's a lot more scalable because we've done 400 plus flips, right? And it gets to a point that it's very, very hard to control your inventory because we have to buy at a discount. It's at least 78, 75 cents on the dollar.
Mhm.
So it's very hard to systematize a fix and flip operation. You see public traded companies, you see a lot of home builders, you see a lot of landlords who are building rental portfolios. Very rarely you will see a fix and flip company because it is such a hard business that you can systematize and really control
Yes.
because of the inventory. Everything else is fine, right? Even on the construction, it's not ideal because you can't plan it as well as building a home.
Mhm.
You gotta be very fluid and adaptable and change
With everything
your
too.
yeah, as you move along. But the key really is the inventory, buying discount inventory, distressed inventory. So that ties up a lot of resources as well. So it's hard to scale a fix and flip operation. It can be done up to a degree, but if you apply that into doing notes or doing seller finance or doing private lending, you can scale a lot.
Of
Um,
things. It's so for our audience as well, like, I know, like, especially if you've never heard about note investment, seller financing, it goes back to, like, if you know the different strategies, you don't have to master them all, but just having an idea of how it works and having that knowledge or skill set in your toolbox, so whenever the right opportunity presents itself, you can always pull that out of your toolbox. 'Cause I remember the first time I heard about note investing, I was like, "Ugh, this is a lot," and then I had to go do research on my own time because I kept hearing the term popping up. Now, one of the things is that you've done different strategies, and I believe that in order for you to get to a lot of those, having the confidence, the courage to do those strategies, there's a lot of work that you have to do on yourself. So I want you to talk about what was your mindset like, you as an individual, as an entrepreneur navigating in this space? What did you have to do to push yourself to keep going? Because I know for a lot of us, especially as an immigrant and how you start, yes, we get the realist, but there's a lot of behind the scene works that you have to pour into yourself to get to that point. So what did you do?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. That is a great question. And I'm glad you asked because it is so important, right? You always hear mindset, and it's great, but how do I get the mindset,
It's
right? It's easy to talk about. I always like to say be driven, not motivated, because motivation is going to fly out the window the moment it gets hard.
Mhm.
So it's really knowing your why. For me, what really set the tone was I think people make changes either by desperation or by inspiration. Desperation comes from a lot of pain, and inspiration is from, really seeing somebody that you admire and you want to be like. And then you kind of reverse engineer of the things that the characteristics that you admire on that person or their life, the fruit that they have, and how do I get that? And you start working backwards. Inspiration is going through a lot of those struggles. Being in that position for me, I can close my eyes and I can remember being at the drive-through of McDonald's, and I did not have 99 cents to buy at
Mm.
the time a chicken sandwich. It was 99 cents, and my order used to be a double cheeseburger and a chicken sandwich. Here it was $2. I think it was 2.14 with tax or something like that. And I didn't have that because at the end of the day, I was paying for this, paying for that, and I just didn't have any money left over at that specific time for whatever reason. And I remember that just being such a drive. Like I told myself, like, I never want to be in this position again because this sucks. You know what I mean? And not having your family here with you, everybody being back home.
Yeah.
Once I moved from Brazil to the US, my personality really, really changed because I didn't speak any English. And the culture there it was just so different from what I was now a part of. Like in Brazil, you almost kind of grow up a little faster. I was like partying already. I was already drinking, which is
Right.
not a great thing, right? But I was 11 years old. I
Mhm.
was already drinking and stuff like that, just different habits that I had to learn when I got here to the US. I really come from, not a great line of family, people that I looked up to. I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my life. My mom was the best example
That
of trying to do businesses that she wasn't very successful at, but at least it instilled in me that, hey, I can try this.
Mhm.
She was probably the greatest example, but I really didn't have anybody that I looked up to in that regard. And when I moved here, I had my personality in Brazil, I was like the class clown. I was very extroverted. And when I came here, I became extremely isolated. Like it was almost like a defense mechanism. I wouldn't even talk when I went to school because I couldn't speak English. So
Mhm.
I would just be mute all day. And then my personality kind of started changing a little bit. And then after I kind of got into the fire department, which is later in my life, I kind of became a little bit more cold,
Mhm.
more desensitized with certain things. It's just the nature of being around all this stuff that I was around, right? So those things change you. And for me, I've always had some I wouldn't say mental issues, but I had a tendency of being depressed or being in a certain mindset. So I really had to do some work internally to become the person that I wanted to be. One of the very first things that I did was I stopped drinking alcohol at all. So it's been 12 years now because I knew that I was drinking too much, and when I was drinking, I wasn't productive. I became lazy. So I completely cut that out of my life. The people that you are around is a big, big thing, right? You hear it over and over again. You average the 5 people that you hang around with.
Mhm.
And I really took that to heart. Like I stopped hanging out. I stopped wasting my time. I don't watch sports, like all those type of things. When I got into my vehicle, I turned it into a self-development type of thing, positivity, that type of thing to really know how to build yourself.
So you really
Uh,
took the time to to just focus. You knew what you were aware of what you needed to work on. And I think a lot of people
Exactly.
are not aware of what they need to work on, or they don't want to face that thing, but you did it. And you, for example, the drinking, like I get that 100%. Like growing up in Jamaica, like you start drinking at 11, 12, and it's normal. So whenever
Right.
you're in the States, like, oh, you got to wait until 18, 21. I'm like, been there, done that. I'm like, that even
Exactly.
you realize what you needed to cut out to
Right.
prove yourself, and you knew where you wanted to go and you took that step to do it. So kudos to you for doing that as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I think it's hard to do that portion of it. And
Yeah.
that's why I was like, I gotta ask you that question, because the real estate portion of it, it's amazing. But
Yeah.
behind the scene, for you to keep going when things aren't going how you want it to keep showing up, to keep pushing yourself, like that takes mental work for
Right.
you to go to keep going, because you're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm over it. Like, be done. Or
Yeah.
chase the next thing. Shiny object syndrome. That's very common
Right.
based too. So I'm glad that you
Yes.
were aware of that as well. But
Yeah.
with moving to that too, I know you are running your own fund. Can you remember, is that a 506c or B?
C. Yeah. 3C5.
You public ties. So raw capital fund.
Hmm.
Me about that, and why did you even decided to go the fund route?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. But absolutely. So we talked earlier. Said everybody kept telling me that if you want to be a millionaire, get into real estate. Right now, I have a saying like, if you want to be rich, get into real estate. If you want to be wealthy, get into mergers and acquisitions. Because I realized that's really where the generational wealth and the real money is made is in mergers and acquisitions.
Positions, yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why we decided to go the fund route is we were doing our model on a deal by deal basis, meaning if I had a deal, we would raise on that deal specifically, in which it works great and there is a place and time for it. And then there becomes a time that you already have the machine built out. All you need to do is pour more gas into the fire to have a bigger fire. And that's what the fund allows us to do. Now, like I said, there is a place and time for it and a strategy for it for a fund. I don't think it's for everybody, but it is for some people and some businesses. So that's why we decided to do it. Instead of raising deal by deal, we just wanted to raise, hey, this is the strategy that we are doing. This is our, I call it a blurry box. That's what we are buying. This is what our strategy is. So if you want to take the ride with us, you are welcome to it. And then we show them our track record of what we've done on a deal by deal basis. And that's why we decided to do it. And not only that, but most importantly is it didn't make sense for me to do a fund just to do a fund
Mm.
because it would be cheaper to keep raising deal by deal. But I wanted to go through the metrics. I wanted to go through the trenches of filing my Reg D paperwork, filing my ADV, all that, because I know that 10 years from now, when I'm doing a fund to do a roll up for a company on mergers and acquisitions, I will have those skills already
To do it.
ironed out so I can duplicate that. So it's not necessarily that I'm doing to really make a dent on what I'm doing now, but it's really looking ahead on 5, 10 years from now. I can do this in a different format. And not only that, there's a lot of people in my space that are great real estate operators, but now they don't know how to handle the private placement side of things. So that's a whole other value that I bring to a community that I'm already a part of it because I really went through that and I've been there, done that. So I can bring value that way. And with that comes different opportunities or joint ventures, being part of their board or advisory and really help them with my experience. So that's why I decided to do it.
Fun road. And you mentioned something too, you being the operator first. That is such a good strength, because now, especially when you're managing investor capital with all the different strategies, you are in that shoe. So you understand both sides of it. And I think that is just a great skill to have when you are running your own fund as well. So I know like with you having the fund and you also have different companies you teach, you do the lending, the seller finance, you do all those things. Like, how are you able to operate so many different companies? Like, what systems do you have in place to make sure everything is running efficiently as well?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point. I'm not saying it's a great thing. I'm very ADD, and I don't recommend it, but I like the challenge of learning new things, right? I like the challenge of, oh, let's figure this out. And I like also testing things out because you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
Like you mentioned, being an operator first. By me being an operator first, and knowing my bottlenecks that I had when I was fixing flipping, the beautiful dance that it is on a real estate transaction, right? Everything's got to line up just right from the acquisition to from the sourcing to acquisition, negotiation, disposition, capital raising, capital management, construction, parking. It's a lot, right? So by me really knowing each aspect of the things on the back end, once I'm running my fund, I can really customize a design, let's say a loan product that would be very beneficial to somebody that was in my position before. And I can really help them. Once I'm deploying capital into a project, like a private lending project, it's not just a checkbook, right? It's a consultative lending type of relationship. I'm not going to have the cheapest capital available.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for, go to a
Yes.
yeah, go to a nationwide lender. I'll even make you the introduction and they'll help you. But if you come with me, yeah, you might pay a little bit more interest, you might pay a little bit more points. But at the end of the day, how much value,
You get
if you are open to it, I can bring to you from any aspect. We only invest in our local market, right? So I have everything you could possibly need. Discounted suppliers, vendors, relationships, Rolodex, contractors. Just by me applying that, the extra points is not going to make a dent and it's going to be very much beneficial to you. So that's kind of like why I like the operating being an operator led first so you can really help those people and it takes a while to be an insider and really know, which that's why you can't do everything in every industry. You really kind of got to be an insider and see what the SWOT and the moat is going to be on each one of those. But doing different things, it might seem like a lot, but the skills really overlap what I do. It's almost like an ecosystem that everything is kind of connected to it within real estate and within my space. And there's certain things that I've learned. For instance, I'm a believer that every business is 85% of the same thing. And then there is a 15% difference on each industry that's a different technical expertise associated with that industry. But a lot of the things translating to every business, right, is just fundamentals. It's doing what you're saying you're gonna do. It's coming through. It's having your principles locked in. Methods are many, principles are few, and there's really knowing your principles and sticking to it.
well,
So that
one
gets
question.
duplicated.
So following up on that, but especially with the principles too, like I want you to, for the person who is maybe listening to this or watching to this, and they're not at the level where you're at right now, but they're aspired to be right. How? Because I think as an entrepreneur, when you're starting out, you are wearing all the hats, right? How do you switch hats, right? Because in order for all your businesses to be running, you're leading them, right? But are in the day to day, do you have a team in place? How can you advise someone who's looking to start? Be like, hey, yes, you wear all the hats now, but to get
Yeah.
to my point, maybe you need to have this system or start thinking about having this team or XYZ to get to the point. Because once you get there and running different things, you still cannot, to sustain it, right? You cannot
Mhm.
do every single thing on your own at that level.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great question. And yeah, I'll answer that in a couple different ways, right? So everybody's going to be different, and you should never be comparing yourself to me, to Kalisha, to anybody, right? Everybody has their own set of expertise, the things they enjoy, their life languages, how they communicate, love languages on how they like to be loved. So people are completely different. They different personalities, profiles, all that sort of thing, right? For me, running different vehicles and different businesses, I always have to have control. So I'm not a control freak that I need to micromanage everything, but on the big picture, I need to have control, right? You gotta have people's respect. You gotta earn their respect. Give you an example on running a job site, a construction job site, right? I'm the boss, but I'm friendly. People respect me. Not that they fear me, but my word will carry a certain weight. Like, hey, if this is the standard, we really need to manage the standard. You can't accept anything less than that. So there's a certain line that you know, being too friendly or being the boss, if you want to have that authority of no, this needs to be done this way. And that's what I mean by maintaining the control. I think same thing with the team, right? It's leading the team from the front lines by the examples and at the same time being firm, yet knowing that balance of when you need to push them, when you need to fall back a little bit. And I think each person is going to be different. I think you should almost reverse engineer and be like, hey, this is what my dreams and goals are. I'd like to be at this, I'd like to be doing this, or I'd like to whatever that is. There are people, we like to think that we are special, that nobody thinks like us, or that, oh, but I'm this and that. Not to bust your bubble a little bit, but you're not that special. A lot of people have gone through even harder things that you have.
Yeah.
Like I will say my story, and then I'll say this is nothing compared to somebody that had it way harder than I did. So there's been people that have overcome that obstacle, whatever it is. So it's knowing that and knowing where you want to be at, and then start reverse engineering on the steps that are going to get you there, and know that it's day by day, step by step, knowing what you need to take care of tomorrow, right? I like to say that if you take care of the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. So it's just really forming those habits of what you need to be doing every day to get you there. Now, on a business perspective, there's certain things that are going to move the needle, right? Negotiation, marketing, those type of things are big picture items that you need to be familiar with them. You need to become like a generalist, like a maestro running an orchestra. All these different pieces of the business are going to matter. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to be doing them. You need to understand if your strong suit is not necessarily that, then that's when you start bringing in either partners, if it makes sense, or hiring team members or outsourcing. I used to have a big team, and that did not work out well for me because
Mhm.
of my personality type. I was spending all my time babysitting instead of doing the things that I want to do,
Yeah.
right?
In that case, it
I think, yeah, and that's why now I'm a big proponent of technology and outsourcing and using a team on a project by project basis, and everybody's compensation is tied into the performance of the project or the deal, because then everybody's motivated. Another thing is it's knowing at the beginning, it's working in your business. So you know the operations, you know what the bottlenecks are, you know what the challenges are. And then moving yourself from that, once you figure out those pieces, and start working on the business itself, right? And you can do that across multiple things or projects or businesses and that type of thing.
and then
Is that kind of,
oh, no, that
yeah.
really helps because I like how you give the different perspective and things that to consider based on the level that you're at. What is like one of the, because you've shared your journey, the different things that you're involved in, what's one of the hardest lesson that you've had to learn in the journey so far?
I'd probably say these past 2 years,
Mhm.
it's probably been one of the hardest lessons that I've had to learn, how much the market has shifted.
Did. Oh,
The last fix and flip that I purchased, keep in mind, we were buying, 70, we're doing 75 deals a year, right? The last fix and flip that I bought was in December of 2024 because how much the market has shifted. So I have had so many lessons this past year, and this is coming from somebody that's been in the industry for 16 years. I thought I had it all figured out. There's certain things that after you've had a little bit of success, you kind of start, I want to say you'll start being complacency sets in, but you start being a little over optimistic and little things that I shouldn't have done when the market was hot, that it wasn't going to matter.
Yeah.
Now that the market is tightening up a little bit, I shouldn't be doing that anymore because then it's not going to correct itself because of how the market is. Right. Everybody had always told me, you just got to be in real estate. You just got to be in real estate. And then I'm in real estate, right? Too much in real estate because I have different business lines, but they are all correlated into real
Real
estate,
estate,
right?
yes.
Landing, servicing, consult, everything. So once real estate really starts tanking down in my market specifically, I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth market, right? So post COVID, inventory levels with price value, everybody moving in, we really felt it. During COVID, it was great because we were making a killing. But afterwards, the market really shifted, right? And then once I have everything tied in to that, then I'm thinking, okay, so what I should have done is have this different type of correlated markets
Yeah.
that no matter what, I would still be okay with this one, right? So those are the little things that you start honing in, and it's just by experience that it's you go through this. Which it's good that you go through it as you are still young. You still have a few years that you can cycle through it. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Also knowing the market, right? You can never time the market perfectly if it's at the bottom or if it's at the top, but you can usually get the direction correct. And that's the most important thing on whatever asset class, whatever strategy you are doing, is knowing what part of the market you are in to know what are you going to do or how are you going to protect yourself. And I always like to say too, you want to have a different vehicle besides real estate that you can generate liquid cash. And from generating that liquid cash, then you can park it into real estate, but you're not dependent on that. And now that gives you a little bit more freedom.
With it. No, it makes sense. You gotta diversify.
Right, right.
Diversification
It,
is so crucial.
it really is.
So I know we're coming to an end, but I love doing this what do you call it? Oh my god, why I having a brain freeze. That is insane. Rapid fire.
Rapid
When we
fire. All right.
or legacy round, rapid fire, it's whatever comes to your mind, like the moment I ask you the question. What's one negotiable when it comes on to investing?
One negotiable,
Yes. One non-negotiable.
non negotiable
Yes.
terms, my terms.
I love that. Okay.
I'm sure you've heard your my price, my terms, or your
What
price.
what is it? I've heard
How does the
yeah,
saying
I
go?
can't I
I
can't
butchered it.
but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
what is one thing that you think investors from the or operators itself in the real estate space undervalue? Or actually, let me rephrase that. What's
Mhm.
one thing that you think entrepreneurs undervalue that you've seen?
Their relationships, I think that's big. I think some people will be more transactional
Yeah,
than really, hey, at the end of the day, we're doing this together. Like this is a relationship, right? I've seen people kind of trade that fast.
that is true. That is so true. And then, what legacy are you trying to build?
That's a good question. And that it's one that I struggle with because I don't have children, right?
Mhm.
I'm married, happily married. And sometimes I think, what is my legacy? At the end of the day, I want to be known for my faith, God fearing, a faithful servant. And I want to be known to be kind to people and really just doing the best that I can. That's how I answer that today is really, just doing the best that I can.
And yeah, I love that. Well, no, like, how can persons reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
They cannot. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. I'm readily available. I'm more active on Facebook and Instagram. I post more than I check. I don't go in there a whole lot. But if you send me a message, I should get it. I'm on LinkedIn. And if you go to sourcefelipe.com, I have all my links and a couple books I'm writing and stuff like that. You can connect. So you're welcome to reach out. And if I can be of any help to you or point you in the right direction, feel free to drop me a message for sure.
Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your knowledge and all the different things that you're doing and just showing other black and brown businesses and also like immigrants in general, like, hey, it doesn't matter where you come from. Like a lot of us come here to chase the American dream, but it is possible. Like it is completely possible. It's gonna take grit. It's gonna take a lot more work, yes, but it's always good to see someone who has similar background, but like, you know what, if they did this, I can do this too. And they're open to sharing their journey. So thank you for being on and talking. And I hope that you continue to, I wish you all the best in your business, that you continue to build what you're continuing to build to. And then your legacy that you aspire to leave will be there. And also for our listeners or watchers or viewers that you found this valuable, let us know as well. Definitely can't wait to have you back when the books are ready so you can talk more about the book and promote those. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.
Go.
And Kalisha, I just want to say it was my true pleasure being here. Thank you so much. I'm looking
Thank you.
forward for us connecting again. And I just want to say the same to you. You're a big inspiration to us, and we see everything that you are doing, and keep it up. And we'll be watching and rooting for you. And I love what you built and the platform. And yeah, thank you for having me.